I knew right then and there that was the job I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I couldn't imagine.
What part of it was that you really liked?
It was the climbing, just being outside, climbing, the work. And I went with a group of, we started with 60 students, and it was the camaraderie of the class that we were all going to go do this, and we're going to get to work on crews and be outside and working at heights and just doing a job that normal people wouldn't even think about doing. And it was the adrenaline, crawling up, working on energized power lines. The thought of it was adrenaline, climbing, starting out at 45 feet, climbing poles and going higher, the possibilities, maybe working on some steel structures and all that. I mean, that's what caught me.
What's your advice for people? Because I get a question constantly, like your advice for those young guys. I talk about persistence a lot. Just be persistent. Just keep working at it and be willing to travel, like all those sorts of things. But you got anything different that you could give for
dedication?
Advice?
Yeah. You got to be dedicated to this. This is inherently a tough trade. Not tough just in the work. It's tough personal because you are traveling. You're away from home. Expect to be away from home. But you got to be dedicated to it. You got to, in the beginning, you got to put the work first. You got to go where they tell you. You got to do what they tell you. I came through older school, right at the edge of where old school was, where these guys were they could still push you around and treat you like utter crap. But it was a way that they tested you to see if you were right for the trade, then in their thinking. And, I did a lot of crap work. You're an apprentice. You're lower than low, and they treated you as such. And there were days, weeks, months, I didn't think I was going to make it through, that I was thinking about quitting, giving up. But spite can get you a long way, so can hate, because these guys were never going to push me out of the trade. I was going to prove all these guys wrong. And here I am. And I always said, I'm never going to talk to my apprentices or treat my apprentices like I was treated. Well, as I got older, I started taking more care into how to train an apprentice.
Sure.
And taking that time and not screaming and yelling at them and breaking everything down so they understood what we were doing. And that helped me now transitioning into the instructor position. It's still tough because these generation, as I get older, that generation keeps getting younger. It does get tough. It gets difficult because I can't relate with all the cell phones and the texting and the Snapchatting and all that stuff. I'm not into that. So I don't see the value of carrying my cell phone around with me all the time. And all these younger guys, they're addicted to those things, and it's tough. But now we use it as a tool. I was out on a crew, and the young guy told me he was always taught the how, never the why. And that resonated with me. We can all go build power lines. We can teach anybody to build a power line. But why are we not touching this wire to that? Or why are we not touching that? Why do we have to wear rubber gloves? Why do we have all these safety rules? Those are the whys.
The why takes the time too, right?
It takes the time. Mm-hmm. And I was taught a lot of the how because a lot of my journeymen, and I was blessed as I moved up through my career, I was blessed to work for a lot of great journeyman linemen and a lot of great foremen. They took the time to nurture my career and help me be better in my career. And I got away from all that yelling and screaming at where you come to work and your foreman just screamed at you. I got away from that. And once I did, I realized the way I was treating people was wrong. And I didn't want to be that person. And I can remember back being an apprentice saying, I'll never be that person. And here I ended up turning to be that person. And it was a subtle change where I started taking care because while I got into union and, being a union IBW member, our duty is to train the apprentices. And that really resonated with me. So I started treating my apprentices a lot different. What I like about this trade is there's so many avenues that we can go.
Yeah.
You want to just do distro, you can. You can just do distro. But you can go underground. And underground, you can become a network guy or a lead splicer or just a URD guy. There's opportunities however you want to go, whatever you choose. Transmission, you could become a bare hand. You can work out of a helicopter. I mean, if you're into that stuff, that's those avenues that you can take, which is great about this career. or this whole line work. It's the opportunities that if you so choose, you can go do.
It's a dial, right? I've talked about this quite a bit. It's like, it's a dial you can turn on your opportunities in different areas you can go, but as well as like, if you want to bump up your finances, you want to save a little bit more, you can hit the road, hit the big projects and make the big money. But then if you want to like get home with the family a little bit more, start a family, and you want, flip to some district work, you can get on with a district somewhere and get a little closer to home and, a little more established and only work your 8 to 10 hours or take your overtime. And it's just like set, but you probably won't make as much money, but hey, it's giving you a better family life.
Correct.
Things like that. But it really is a dial that you can turn. So why underground? Why go to that? You talked a little bit about being well-rounded, but what's some pros? What are people missing by not giving it a try?
Again, it's becoming a well-rounded lineman. I mean, you can stay in one distro overhead. You can stay in that. But going to underground, now you get to experience that, that helps you become a well-rounded lineman. For me, going into the underground I didn't want to do it. I wasn't interested in it. I want to be the guy up in the distro and doing the hot work and with the rubber glove sleeves, hot sticks, whatever I could do. But the underground was a challenge itself because I knew nothing. I didn't know much about it because you can't see it. Like overhead, you look up, there it is. You can see everything that you're going to work on. In the underground, you can't. It was a whole different animal for me. But once I kind of got forced into doing it, and a couple jobs I didn't want to, but then when I got into it, it actually turned out to be a lot more enjoyable than what I thought. You got to be using your head all the time. And it was another challenge in the line work trade that you always want to be challenged. I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but after a while, you set one pole, you've set 1,000.
Sure.
You put a transformer up, you've probably done 1,000. You've strung 1,000 miles of overhead wire, and I had never done much underground. Put some elbows on here and there. And that was about it. But seeing a full project all the way through and knowing what you're doing was the challenge. And that's what I was looking for. I wanted to
be challenged.
Be challenged in this. Because after a while, you got to worry about complacency seeping in on everything that you do because you're like, you changed the pole yesterday. We're going to do the same thing day after day after day. Well, underground was such a challenge to learn, let alone do that right there, that caught my fancy, and I want to be the best at it that I could.
It just comes back to like making yourself valuable, right?
Correct.
Like, how can you set yourself apart from the guy beside you? So yeah, even that's interesting because I give that advice to young guys getting into the trade. I'm like, well, how are you better or different than the guy beside you? You see it in the classroom now. Like, why would anybody pick any of you over each other? So start separating yourself. Get a different diploma, a different like ticket, like whatever it is. Like, make yourself more valuable. But that scales up too, like into the trade as a journeyman. Make yourself more valuable.
Correct.
Like collecting these.
I tell these students now that we have, I tell them, try everything. If you don't know, and they offer you that chance to try it. You're going to go do transmission. You may fall in love with that, and that's what's all you want to do for the rest of your career. And that's great. That we need those. You go into overhead distro, and you want to stay there, you can. But try it. Try everything. Actually now, from becoming an instructor and teaching in the trade, for the trade, I've become a better lineman than I think I've ever have been, because you forget about, in your apprenticeship, you forget about the weights and forces. You forget about all the basics. A lot of that kind of goes by the wayside. And now being in the instructor part and have to know it inside and out intimately, I become a way better lineman.
What does good leadership look like to you?
That's a tough question. I'd like to say I'm a good leader, but I really don't know if I'm a great leader or a good leader. I'd like to think that I'm a leader, but it's you got to have some compassion for the guys that you're working with, and you got to enjoy the trade that you're in. You got to know your trade. You can't really lead people if you don't know what you're doing.
Sure.
You got to have the knowledge, and so a good leader would be having the knowledge of the craft that they're trying to lead somebody in would be the answer.
And be willing to like get out there and do it with them.
Do it with them.
Like get in the trenches or get dirty. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I had never heard of Lazy Q. And they said, we're going to send you down there for 2 weeks. And I went down there. I went to the underground school for a 2-week class. And when I got there, I mean, if nobody has stepped foot on Lazy Q, you got to go see it firsthand for yourself. I mean, I watched the video after they told me I was going to Lazy Q. I went online and I YouTubed and I saw the video. And that video is a good video, but it doesn't do justice to what the ranch really is. To go there and see it firsthand was unreal. I mean, to see a training facility, a ranch training facility that was dedicated just to linemen was unreal. And then the level of instruction that I got from the instructors on the underground. When I walked out of there, they made me 3 times the underground. I thought I was doing everything right in underground, but they made me 3 times better when I walked out of there. They made me realize a lot of things that I was doing wasn't right. I could have been just a shitbag on the side of the road and just done mediocre work. Who the hell would want to work with me? My reputation, or our reputation in the trade, is all we have. You know, I didn't want to go to that next job and my name already there saying, oh, he's a shitbag. Didn't want that at all. That's why we busted our asses and we worked hard, because if we left, we went to the next company, you didn't want a bad reputation. You wanted a good reputation. You know, in the trade, that's what everybody wants. We want a good reputation. We want to be known as, hey, I want to work with that guy. Or, hey, I want that guy on my crew. That's what we want, ultimately. You know, I don't want to be that guy where I'm pulling up to the job and they go, oh, shit, here's this D-bag. I don't want that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to go and they're like, hey, want you on my crew. You know, and hopefully everybody that comes through or had come through the Lazy Q, that's what they want. That's what they're striving for. It's because our reputations are all we have in this trade.
Opportunities exist out there, but there's a direct relationship between opportunities and work. And the opportunities exist. They're everywhere. But are you putting in the work to create that opportunity, for starters? And then working during that opportunity, you know what I mean? Like just working hard to like get what you want. They come to me and they're like, I can't find a job anywhere. Nobody will hire me. What do I do? Where do I go? How do I get started? I've been trying to get started for so long. I got my name on the books. Nothing's happening. It's like, what else are you doing?
Correct.
Are you being persistent? Are you working your butt off? Are you willing to travel? Not just willing to travel. Are you traveling? Like, are you paying for that on your own dime and going to a place that could provide an opportunity, potential opportunity, with no expectation of an opportunity even being there, but just trying? Everyone out there thinks that it's a regular line school, you know, and they relate it to like just a regular line school. So let's separate that a little bit and talk to why it's not just a regular line school. What sets it apart?
Okay, our line school is it's 16 weeks. You're gonna have to put 16 weeks. You'll go home a couple times for about a week, and so basically it's 14 weeks. It's accelerated program. Just because you come to the Lazy Q line school does not mean you're going to graduate. Just because you show up doesn't mean you're going to make it through.
And how do you even get into it?
You have to work for an operating unit that's a Quanah-owned operating unit, and you have to be sponsored from somebody within your division to come down to the Lazy Q, or the VEEP program. The VEEP program is Veteran
Electrical Entry Program.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we bring in a lot of veterans. The guys that are just getting out of the military or have been out of the military for a while, and they're looking to get into line work. So they'll come to us, and we'll put them through this 14-week accelerated program, and there's no guarantees that they're going to make it through. Just because you come down to Lazy Q does not mean you're going to make it through.
Yeah.
You're not You're not paying. These people that are accepted here are not paying for.
So they don't pay to come to the school.
They don't pay to come to the school. The
So they're actually
unit,
like sponsored by the operating unit or sponsored by the VEEP program.
VEEP along with NICA and with that, they're coming down there and they're getting a lot of incentives to be there, where a basic line school you're paying for.
Gotcha.
It's not, well, I'm going to show up when I want and I'm going to go do this and I'm going to run downtown and no, you're on the ranch. You're going to be on the ranch for that period of time and you're there to learn. You're getting accelerated program, 16 weeks. We're putting you out to a JATCs and they're going to put you where they need you.
And you're like paid to go there,
you're
right?
Paid to go there.
Paid while you're there, for the veterans, well, for everybody.
For all of them, because you come from yep. So you pay, you're getting room and board. You're getting tools, you're getting books, you're getting paid to be there. So your job for that 16 weeks is to learn how to become a lineman. Okay, when I first started teaching, as you know, we always had other instructors sitting in the back, or we had David Ball sitting in the back. Well, that just made me more nervous because I didn't want to hear the criticism. I didn't want to hear how poorly I did or this or that. So it made me twice as nervous. And after a while, somebody can tell you how to teach or tell you a style, but it's got to be your style. Yeah. And I developed a style that ultimately has worked for me, and it's worked for many classes now, and it's made me more comfortable. I try to joke around with them, get them interested, and then I hammer them with content. But you always got to be looking body. You always got to be looking at body language. If you start seeing guys' eyes droop, or you see more than one guy getting up, going to the bathroom, you're losing them.
Yeah.
Take a break. Come back. Hit them with a funny story. I like telling stories about the line trade. Stuff that happened to me.
What's some good advice you got from somebody who's been through a good chunk of his career with dealing with mental health? Like, what's some escapes you do or some things you do to like decompress or...
Well, first of all, don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed of if you have depression or if you have anxiety. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't let that be a hindrance to you. If you have to tell people, don't be ashamed to tell them. Don't be ashamed of it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You'd be surprised at the amount of people that suffer from some form of depression or some form of anxiety in this trade. I mean, because we're constantly put in. Well, we work with high voltage. We work with energized lines. At any given time, we could get hurt. We're putting ourselves into these positions while we're working. It's no different from. I mean, you walk out your door, you get hit by a car and killed. But we choose to go do these dangerous things. So don't think you're the only one suffering from any type of mental depression or anxiety. I can guarantee there's a lot more people out in this trade that never say anything than the ones that do.
All right, guys, if I could ask one favor from you, it's that you like, subscribe, follow, all of those good things, whether it's YouTube or audio platforms you listen to this on. Make sure you're subscribed. It does a lot for us. We want to get this out there. We want to get our reach out there. We want to find more people in the industry and get this stuff in front of them. So anyway, that's the favor I asked for you. Hope you enjoyed the episode with Don Muzzy. We'll see you in the next one.